Prior to starting your canvas, you want to make sure that you grab some gesso and cover your entire canvas with some gesso to ensure that when you put your paint on, that it does not soak through the canvas and that it's a nice solid paint job when you're painting with your acrylic paints. You then want to make sure that your canvas is completely dry before you start putting your acrylic paint on. So for the purpose of this video, I did dry this with my heat gun outside a frame. And then what I did is I started using my first coat of acrylic paint. Now, I did not cover the canvas completely with this acrylic paint. I just did a very rough job because I knew that I was going to mix all different colors with it. So as you can see in the picture, I did not finish coating the entire canvas with the first color. I am now covering my canvas with several different colors. I've used the green color and the brown and mixed it all up. And I actually don't mind that the canvas is still wet. It blends the colors that I like really well together, and so I actually wanted to make sure that the canvas didn't dry, and I just kept playing and playing until I got the desired look that I wanted. The next thing you want to do, you want to make sure that your canvas is completely dry before you go ahead and stamp. And I used just a stamp set that I had, a Prima stamp set, and I used StazOn to stamp on there so that when I covered the canvas that the color would not run. So you don't want to use any watercolor based ink. Next, I gathered some Iamroses leaves that I had, some skeleton leaves, and I placed them all over my canvas. I will post the link below to the item number for the skeleton leaves. And then I went ahead and I grabbed some multi-medium, a studio multi-medium. I believe it's matte, and I didn't want a lot of shine on there, and I just started covering the entire canvas and the leaves, and I just went over them until they were completely set into the canvas. I then gathered a Prima screen and I placed it on my canvas using 3D molding paste, and I covered the canvas with that molding paste, at least the corners of it. And then I waited for it to dry, and then I started covering it with the same 3-color paints that I used previously to cover the base of my canvas. Once again, I grabbed some StazOn ink in my stamp set, the same one I used previously, and I started stamping my letters with the StazOn ink. And once again, you don't want to use any water-based ink, because if you are going to use any more paint on top, you don't want the ink to run. So StazOn ink or archival ink will work best. I then placed my letters on my canvas and I adhered them with you can either use multi-medium, or this is the glue by Ranger. I did find that they did fall off a little bit. They weren't quite sticking very well. So in the end, I did have to use my heat gun to secure them in place so that they would not fall off. I found a napkin that I had in my stash and I started ripping it apart. I thought it would be the perfect touch to the canvas as it needed a little bit more colors. So I grabbed a little bit of my multi-medium and then I started placing the napkin on the canvas with my multi-medium. And don't worry if your paper rips, that's the look of it. And you'll see as I create this project that the napkin just sort of blends right into the canvas. So you want to make sure that you get all those little edges in between your letters if you're placing them on top of a letter. The next thing that you want to do is you want to grab any acrylic paint that you used previously and try to blend the edges of the napkin into the canvas. So I grabbed that blue-green that I was using and I started blending the edges so that there wouldn't be any rough edges sort of coming out of the canvas that bother the eye. I then grabbed some vintage photo distressing and I started distressing the edges and some of the inside of my canvas to take away some of the brightness of it. I want it to be a little bit more dingy and grungy. I then found that my edges of the letters were not quite, they were blending in too much, so I wanted them to stick out a little bit more. So I just grabbed some of the same brown that I had used previously and I went all around the letters and tried to define them a little bit more so that you could read them. And then after that, I went over with a little bit of the blue again, just to get rid of some of the sharpness that I had created by using the brown. So really, it's really a blending technique that you're trying to achieve. No project is complete without a little bit of Iamroses. So I will post the link below on the 2 different roses that I used as well as the leaves that I used. And I also will put the link below again with the skew for the skeleton leaves that I used at the beginning of this video. And then I just found some sprigs that I had in my stash and stuck them underneath the flowers to just give it a little bit more of a elongated effect.